Did you know of any other kids, Polynesian kids, who were in the same situation as you, or who had gone through a similar situation?
A few, yeah. I know a few.
Do you think that your story is maybe more common than people think?
I wouldn't doubt it. Especially with women, especially with Polynesian women. I'm sure there's a lot of Polynesian women who have gone through similar stories that I have. And it's sad. I remember when I was going through, I was trying to get out of some bad situations, and I would go to AA meetings. And not because I'm an alcoholic or anything like that, but just because it was free coffee. And it was outdoors, and I could just sit and listen to stories. And I was homeless at the time. But so I'd sit there and I'd listen, and I befriended a woman at the AA meetings. And she was telling me her story. And I remember hers was even worse than mine. I mean, we don't want to compare stories, but I will say, honest to goodness, hers was worse than mine. I'm surprised she even survived. And she's a Hawaiian woman, and she was at least 20 years older than me. So, and the fact that it happened to her 20 years ago, prior to me, it's still happening 20 years later.
So you said that you were homeless at the time?
Yes.
How old were you?
I was 18, 19. Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about that?
Sure.
What drove you to that situation?
A guy. Plain and simple, it's a guy. I met somebody through a phone line. You remember those things where you can call and meet people, through a phone hotline kind of thing?
The potty chat line.
Yeah. That. Exactly that.
We're so old.
I was 18, and I thought I'd try it. And I met this guy. He was from California, and he seemed really nice, but he had a slight Southern accent. He was very charming. And long story short, he moved here for me. And he arrived on the day I graduated high school. I had a single blurry picture of him. I didn't quite know what he looked like. But he did tell me he was older. He told me he was 38. So I fell in love with him, I guess. Or at least I thought I was. Anyway, I met up with him about a day later, and the shock that came over me when I first saw him, it's indescribable, because even though it was a blurry picture, I didn't expect him to look like that. He looked much, much older. And on top of that, he didn't have a place to stay. So I tried to bring him home. My mom said, hell no. So I said, fine, I'm 18, I'm gonna do what I want, so I'm gonna leave. She's like, fine, go. So I left. And that's how I ended up on the street. It was my choice to be with this man and live with him on the streets. Eventually we had gotten a van from somebody in one of the AA meetings. He gave us a van, so we would sleep in it. So I was living at Kapi'olani Park for about a year, and that's where I just nosedived. Started doing drugs heavily. I mean, experimented in high school, but not like that. And I basically took a nosedive in my life. We fought constantly. We'd smoke and then lay in the van and then run around and go do stuff and then get into fights in the middle of the park. and then go smoke again. Thankfully, I don't remember a lot of it because I was high a lot of the time.
So how did you get out of that? Who pulled you out?
Oh, that's a long story. Okay, fast forward. So I gotten pregnant, and I had a feeling I was pregnant, and I wasn't sure. So I called my best friend, and I asked her if she could meet me at my house. I would sneak to my house during the daytime when nobody was home, so I could wash clothes and stuff like that. I could just, because it was a straight shot from Waikiki, catch the bus that goes to my house and right back. So I'd go during the day. Anyway, so I called my best friend and I asked her if she could meet me at my house. She met me there with 2 tests, took it, pregnant both times. So I decided, okay, maybe I should cut down on the smoking and I should cut down to Batu and stuff like that. And my friend knew I was smoking. She knew because she smoked herself. And I had decided to tell my mom because I was 18, 19 years old. I was scared out of my mind. So I called my mom. I told her that I was home and if she could meet me. My mom came home and I told her that I was pregnant. Cried my eyes out and told her I was sorry. You know, the whole guilt, not married, kind of thing. And my mom told me that she wasn't mad. She was disappointed, but she wasn't mad, which hurt even more, But she said, we'll get through this. So I'd set an appointment with the doctors, and I was going to get on WIC and all that kind of stuff. So I think it was a couple days before my first check. I was asleep. We were back in Kapiolani Park, and we were parked by the tennis courts. And the tennis courts open early, so I could take a shower and in their bathrooms. So I went to the bathroom and I was bleeding. I freaked out. Told my boyfriend, and my boyfriend freaked out and called 911. The ambulance came, picked me up, took me to Kapiolani. And took forever to get a doctor. But when she finally came, she took the wand thing and, to check. And so I was looking at the monitor, and so she was explaining, she was measuring on the screen I was about between 14 to 16 weeks. I didn't realize I was that far along. And I remember looking at it and I was like, oh my God. And it dawned on me at that point that, wow, that's a baby. And my whole, something in me shifted. Something in me changed. But then at the same time, the doctor said, well, normally, if you see flashing, that means that's the baby's heartbeat. And it wasn't flashing. So I was both awed and extremely heartbroken at the same time. Because something shifted in me. And I wanted the baby. At first it was just, I better not smoke and stuff because of the baby. But it didn't dawn on me that it was an extra. And so I was a mess, and sorry. So the doctor told me that I had options, what I could do, and I chose the less invasive one, and I took some pills. And of course that caused a whole thing with me because I didn't realize that when the doctor told me, she's like, She's like, so you're gonna have heavy cramping. I can handle heavy cramping, it's not a problem. But this was full fucking labor. And I had to go back to the hospital because I was in such pain. And anyway, after that whole fiasco, I finally just like, no, just fucking give me a DNC. Just do that. So I did. And when I came out of it, the doctor was like, oh, we didn't have to clean out much. It had already passed. So after all that, I smoked even more than ever. And we were fighting even more. And one day we were at my house and I was washing clothes, and my boyfriend and I got into a huge fight over what I cannot remember. But I remember going into the kitchen and thinking to myself, I'm done. I'm so done with this life. I can't do this anymore. So I grabbed a knife and I went upstairs as my boyfriend's yelling at me, and I locked myself in my room and I go into my closet and I'm deciding if I really am going to go through this and just end it all. At that point, my boyfriend comes upstairs, breaks down my door, finds me in my closet, pulls me out, calls the cops. Cops come, and by that point, he had actually left. I don't know where he'd gone. He had left. Cops came and talked with me, along with the ambulance. And he's like, well, we just have to put you on suicide watch. So they locked me up 24 hours. And when I came out, my grandma was there. Apparently, my boyfriend had called my best friend. And at that point, my best friend had moved to Maui. Called her and yelled at her, blaming her for us fighting. And she freaked out, and so she had to look up the number for my grandma's shop. Called my grandma and told her what happened. So she was waiting for me the whole time. So she picked me up, got in the car, and she was like, you need to come home. You don't need to be out there anymore. Come home. My grandma saved my life that day. And she said, whatever you need to do, let me know, because I will help you. Whatever you're going through, we can get through this together. I will help you. So, it took a couple times, because I kept falling off the wagon kind of thing. And, but eventually I'd found my way again. And my grandma was like, you know what, you should go back to the theater. I'm like, oh, no, I don't want to. She's like, why? That's where you were happiest. You should get back into theater. And of course, my grandma was right. It's gonna get better. You just have to be smart. Listen to your gut. Because when your gut tells you something's wrong, something is wrong. That's probably one of the very few voices in your head that you can trust. If something is wrong, you know it is. It's gonna be wrong 9 times out of 10. Don't take anything for granted, because you never know when it'll be your last of something or somebody else's last of something. Do what you love and do it well, because that will take you places. Always believe in yourself. Because once you start doubting yourself, that's when you start to go astray. Because you have more guts than you realize. We are what we make ourselves. So if you put in the work, you put in the time, you'll turn out all right. My name is Lelea'e Kahalepuna-Wong, and I represent Polynesian.